Hello, I want to give an extra lesson today about citations. The reason why is because we're going to have to use citations in our research paper later on in the semester. So, also, it will also be on the midterm exam. So, you'll have to know about a little bit about citations before the midterm exam. So, I wanted to provide you with a little bit of background on that topic. Okay, we need to have something called a reference page at the end of our paper. You might have heard of this as called a bibliography before. So this is where you put all your references, like that means where you got your facts and information from, and you will put that on the last page of your paper. Okay, so let's take a look at how this looks here. The reference page should be at the end of your paper. It should begin on a separate page. And the word references should be up at top, bolded and centered. However, the text size is not enlarged, so you're just going to keep it the same font size as the rest of your paper. Okay, what information about a source is included and how should it be arranged? Glad you asked. So we're going to look at that. For general books, just a regular old book that you get at the library, you're going to have the author, period, the date, okay, in brackets, period, title in italics, publication city like New York, San Francisco, wherever, publisher, the company. So here's an example. We have the author's name, and notice that the author's family name comes first. Okay, so Ackerman, her given name, Jennifer, comes second, followed by a period with 2017 in brackets, period. The Genius of Birds, so see that's the title, period. London with a colon, and the publisher name. Okay, so if we're just going to take a chapter in a book, we're going to have the author's last name. So last name in English means their family name. Like my family name's Cahill. Korean common name is Kim or Park. That is the last name. So in Western countries, obviously that comes last. First initial, second initial. So if it was Jennifer, it would be J. Date. So just the year is fine. Chapter or article title. Okay. In editor, first initial, second initial, last name. All right. So you can see all the specifics here. We have book title with a colon, subtitle, edition. Is it the first, second, third? Okay, we have an example here. Hemingway, Ernest Hemingway, 1999. So that's when the book was published. Or it might have been a later edition, though, obviously. And it has a period, and the name of the book is The Killers. And the publishers are Updike and Kennison, and the title is The Best American Short Stories of the Century. So this would be like a compilation of short stories. So therefore, you'd have to include the editors in that. And then we have the area where it could be found. The page numbers was 78 through 80. And the city was Boston. Okay, publisher. All right. Okay, now this might be useful for you. This has a translator, so if you have a text that was translated from another language, you would also include the translator's name. So we have the author again, date, title, translator's name, and then you put trans after that. And again, publication city and the publisher. Okay. Okay, so here you can see an example. All right, we have somebody's name here, Laplace, P.S. 1902, a philosophical essay on probabilities, and we have the translators. Okay, and after the translators, notice that it says trans here. Okay, London is the city, and here's the publisher's name. So John Wiley and Sons. The formatting got a little bit screwy. Okay, so if we want to look at a detailed explanation, you can consult the Purdue OWL citation chart. So Purdue is, a university in America, and they are basically they set the standard of citations. So whenever you want to look up citations, you always go to this website, Purdue OWL. So, if you go to the website for this university, you can see, if you want to get really crazy with it, you can see everything about citations that you ever want to know. So whenever you need to find out some different information, like, okay, I got this journal from an online journal, you can still use that, but you need to know how to reference that. So so whenever you go to this website, you can get all the information that you need here. Okay, now let's move on to scholarly journal articles. And for your major, this is probably what you would use primarily, because most of your major topics are going to come from research that previous academics have done. So for your major, I am assuming you'll probably be looking at scholarly journals primarily. Okay, so that was a mouthful. Okay, so we have the author's name and the date, title of the article with only the first word capitalized, journal title with all important words capitalized. So you don't really have to capitalize prepositions or articles. Volume, the number, and pages. Okay, so here, keep in mind here, there's an asterisk. So not all journals will have volume numbers. Some journals may include pieces of information pertaining to publication issue. So that could be, if it's a shorter journal, it might not have a volume, etc. Okay, so here's an example. Okay, we have family name, first name, family name, first name, given name, and we have the date, just the year, conflicting nationalisms. Okay, the voice of subaltern in Mahaswata. That's a hard one to pronounce, but here you go. And it was published in Tulsa. And the studies in women's literature. Okay. All right. So, let's see. So we're going to go here again, and you can see more citation charts if you click on this link, and I will provide you with a PDF. So again, Purdue OWL is going to be your best site for finding information about references. Also, I should make a point that you can see here the journal title is going to have just all important words capitalized. Okay, you can see that here. This is highlighted with the circles. Okay, why don't we move to the next slide? Okay, so let's talk about newspapers, magazines, and online sources. So this, maybe for us, we might be getting a lot of our information from newspapers, magazines, and online sources. And also, if you haven't check out that the YouTube videos that I posted in week 2, and that will help you figure out what are reliable sources or not. Okay, so we have a magazine article, and in the magazine article we have the author and the date. The title, again, title of article with only the first words capitalized. The magazine title with all important words capitalized. Volume, number, and pages. So you can see an example here. We have this person's family name is Henry, and his first initials are WA, and he's the third. So if you're like the third in your family with the same name you got from your dad, your grandfather, you would be the third. And he has 1990 April. So since it's a journal, it might be a monthly journal or monthly magazine. Okay, and we have the name is Making the Grade in Today's School, and Time Magazine, page 135. Or I'm sorry, that's the volume number and the page number, 28 to 31. Okay, and then we have another one here. So we have another example here. We have last name and initial, first, middle. We have, because in America we have, some of us have middle names. I have a middle name. And we have year, month, date published. Okay, article title or newspaper title, and the pages. Okay, so this example, we have last name, first initial, the year, the date, and the title, Energy Drinks Promise Edge, but experts say proof is scant. New York Times, page 1. Okay, and next we have the online source. Okay, and we have last, first, middle, initial, year, month, date published, article title or page title, the date that you retrieved it, so that was the date that you searched it, and the date that you retrieved it from the URL. Okay, so our example is the Writing Lab, an owl at Purdue and Purdue University. So we, that was the website that we just went to actually. And we have the year 2008. And also, yeah, here's the title, the Purdue Owl Family of Sites, the date which you searched it, and the URL. Okay, if you need a more detailed explanation, please go to this URL here. I will include this PDF on Smart Campus. So when you write your reference list, then you're going to put all your articles on that page. What if you have more than one article? What order do you put them in? Well, you have to alphabetize them by the alphabet. And so we're going to alphabetize the author's last name. We have John Quincy Adams. Okay, so Adams, John Quincy. And it actually comes before if you're looking at if we had somebody with Adam's name and an Atticus, so Adams would obviously come before Atticus. Okay. And the order is last name, first name, middle name or middle initial. So Michael J. Fox is written Fox Michael J. John William Coltrane is written Coltrane John William. Okay. Should I tell you my middle name? I'm a little bit embarrassed. My middle name is Lee. So how would you write that? So we would write Cahill, Jessica L. Okay, so that's how you would write my name. Cahill is my family name from my father, and Jessica is the given name that my parents gave me, and Lee is my middle name. It's not really that important, but we like to have a middle name in America. And so you would write my name as, Cahill, Jessica, Lee. Don't tell anyone my middle name, please. It's kind of embarrassing. Okay, so nothing comes before something. So we have Swain G would come before Swainen K. So if there's less letters, those would come before the word with more letters. Okay, so the very important things are what must I never forget? Each source you cite in the paper must appear in your reference list. So do not take any information where you don't know where it comes from or you can't reference it, because you could get accused of plagiarism and just kind of academic laziness, I guess. So you always want to reference your facts and information, because it could come back and people might say, well, where did you get this information from? I don't know, where you got it from. So you always have to make sure that you always cite your sources. And each entry in the reference list must be cited in your text. Otherwise, people might get a little bit suspicious. Like, well, if you didn't cite it in your text, where is this information coming from? Okay, so that means we don't want to use any uncited sources. Don't do that. Also, no padding your reference list. So that basically means, like, if your teacher tells you to have 5 references and you only have like 2, and then you just put a bunch extra in there. So that would be called padding your reference list. So you don't want to do that. Okay, so sometimes students come up to me and they say, well, hey Jessica, so I saw a really great program on the internet where I can just put in all my information or the URL and it just automatically creates the reference for me. So that's great. If you know how to do that and you can, that's really awesome. So go ahead and do that, but keep in mind they will not always suit your purposes. Nor will they be 100% reliable 100% of the time. So that means, like, just make sure that you're double checking. So if you do use like an online program to do your APA reference list, just make sure that you're double checking it and making sure that it's doing it properly. But I think it's fair if you want to do that. But the thing is, know what you're doing before you take help from the internet. So you want to be cautious about that. And good luck. Okay, and before we go today, I just want to point out like one more thing. So we're going to also, when we do our APA references, we are going to paraphrase using indirect speech, what we talked about before. So that was one of the ways that we paraphrased. And you can see here that this was the original text, as you remember. International travel has many benefits, but visitors can run into trouble if they don't know some basic rules about the cultures they are visiting. And here you can see we had Schmidt, 2018. So that's how we're going to cite it in the text. So if I wanted to take this, and I would actually have to put this in quotations because it's a direct quote. So it's not in your own words. If it's not in your own words, you would have to put this into quotations. So you'd have some quotes here. And I was trying to see if, okay. Okay, so I'm going to put some quotations just to show you. Okay, so we have some quotations here. And then we're going to also put it into here. Okay. Let's see if I can hold down my shift key. All right, so this is kind of what it should look like. Okay, so if I'm going to just take the direct quotation, I am going to put it in quotation marks. But if I paraphrase it, I do not have to put it in quotation marks. So that's the beauty of paraphrasing, is that you don't have to put it in quotation marks, but you still have to cite it. So this is very important. If you are taking somebody else's ideas, and even if you're putting it into your own words, you still have to cite where you got the information from. So we talked about indirect speech last week. So you can see here, we have some indirect speech paraphrasing going on. So we have, according to Schmidt, we have 2018, comma, foreign travel has many advantages, but, okay, so that's, that would be an example of using indirect speech. Okay, and then same again here, Schmidt 2018 states that foreign travel has many advantages, but. So yeah, for any of those paraphrasing situations where you're taking someone else's words and you're making it your own, you still need to cite where you got that information from. So again, we did last week, let's just kind of do a quick review. Last week we did, you can see international travel has many benefits, but visitors can run into trouble if they don't know some basic rules about the cultures they are visiting. Remember, that was the original text. And we replaced it with some synonyms. Foreign travel has many advantages instead of benefits, and foreign instead of international, and problems instead of trouble. Spend time learning the customs or know some basic rules about the culture. So it's this basically the same thing, just different words. And you're going to put the author's family name, their last name. Cahill is my family name. You would put Cahill and then the date, 2018. Okay, so yeah, that was one, was synonyms. Another one was changing the order. So you can see they kind of moved the clause to the front. Foreign travel has many advantages, but unless travelers learn about the places, about the cultures they are visiting, they can have problems. So it kind of, you can see how they changed it into a different clause there. Okay, and again, you got to put you have to put the writer's name or the person who said its name. So that's the most important thing, is that you have that information. So that's just kind of a review from last week. So yeah, do the paraphrasing. That's totally fine, but you have to cite your sources. Okay, and you also have to make a bibliography or a reference page. And again, check out that Purdue OWL website, and it will be really useful for you if you have any further questions. Okay, all right, I think that's all I want to say today, and we will see you next week.